do you find your opportunities? You mentioned submitting in theater festivals and stuff like that, and theater companies and whatnot. Where do you go and search for
Well,
those
first of all,
things?
if you produce your own stuff, you're going to find a lot of opportunities. You have to get into the world. There's always people who need work. The more you produce, the more people you're not going to have time to write. You're just not there. There'll come opportunities that people will want this or want that. Um, the thing is you can, if you're not producing your own work, there's a lot of online opportunities. There are websites. Play Submission Helper is a great one. I mean, you can find ways around to figure out the list and everything like that. You're going to be chasing your tail for a lot of things because they'll be like, I need this, I need this, I need this, and you'll be like, oh, I got to hurry up and write. What I would say is write a bunch of 10 minutes, write a bunch of 20 minutes, write full lengths, and what interests you. And once you start building up a bunch of plays, I know that sounds like a lot, you have to be prolific. Then you keep looking at these sites and you're going to find opportunities. You're going to find them. And as far as theaters go, like I said, when you're producing, you're going to go to theater, you're going to make relationships. But you can look on their websites, and the big theaters, they have submission opportunities. They have literary agents. They have managers that do that. Even the smaller theaters, they will have those things. And I would say just go ahead and go on some of these websites of the different theaters in your area, the area you want your plays to be produced, and find out when their submission deadlines are. And that's a harder way because you may not know what they're looking for, and you're going to get rejected a lot, or you're going to feel rejected because it isn't about whether or not your play is good or bad, at whether it fits their season. And once you understand the kind of work each theater company is looking for, then you'll be able to okay, this is what they're looking for, and this is either my brand or it's not. And if it is, then they will come back and ask you for more plays if they're successful.
You mentioned that. It's funny how many times, like with noir, how many submissions that we received that were not noir, that they didn't know, either they weren't familiar with the genre or they didn't respect the guidelines or rules, if you will, and just said, oh well, if it's good enough they'll take it, which is like,
There's no way. And even like, like there's a one quick way of pissing off a producer is doing that. It's just, I kind of get it. You have a play, you think it's awesome, you put your heart and soul in it, and you're gonna look at the trades, and there's not the opportunity for you. Don't submit something that isn't of that genre. There'll come a genre or a theater company that's looking for that. Be patient. Keep writing. Write something else. And if you, like for the noir thing, for instance, if somebody didn't have a noir play, go ahead and research noir. Watch all the movies. Look up on the internet what the noir basic plot lines and characters and things like that. And if that's something that you want to do, go ahead and take a crack at it. And then, you could even have written the producer like yourself and saying, hey, I don't have any noir pieces, but I'm wondering if you're doing this every year, and I would love to, be notified if you have a mailing list or something like that once I get a noir script to have you look at it.
yeah, and that's what I always try to encourage people to do, and I always did the call for submissions long enough to where if you were inspired, you've got 12 to 16 weeks, sometimes 6 months to write a piece.
Yeah.
Um, Going back and looking at those opportunities that are online and whatnot, what is your opinion on submission fees?
Well, that's hard.
There's a lot of threads that I see where a lot of
Won't.
playwrights, they don't do it. How dare you, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, and that's the thing too. It's like I'm more like, I'm surprised when I get actors who are like, "Oh, this is the first show I didn't have to pay to be in." There's pay to play all over the place. That's the our world, and it's probably going to get worse after the pandemic because theater is hard to survive. I don't charge my members, but a lot of people have membership for actors. So when it comes to playwrights, look, I would say not don't be so desperate that you're going to drop a bunch of submission fees. If something is worth it for you, submit and pay the fee, like the O'Neill. You know what I mean? Just submit it. Pay. If you have a full length ready for the O'Neill Festival, that's a big, big one. Or the Kennedy Center one. Just pay the fee. It's not that much. But otherwise you're going to start. It's the same thing with like screenplay writing and stuff like that. They charge. That's how they make their money. That's how they get these people to give you feedback and stuff like that. So if maybe it might be worth it. If somebody has like theater those connections and they're actually promising something that you might want, think about how much it would cost to take a class. And so if there's a submission fee for something and it's like, oh, it's a festival and you might get in and then you have these big names that are going to help you with your script, or that might be worth it. It might be cheaper than that. But they're hard to get in and you might get like an honorable mention. Getting all huffy about it, it's like nobody's forcing you to submit for it. There's so many other outlets. Most theaters, I don't know of any theater that requires submission fees, and if they do, that's a racket because if it's a big theater, they're going to pay you for your script. If it's a small one, they're not, and you're actually going to be able to put on your resume that you've been produced, which goes a long way.
Which I want to go back on into compensation a little bit, and that's before we get there, because for Play Noir we never charged a submission fee. I felt like Play Noir was so specific that it was a hard thing to charge for submission fees, and we'll get hundreds every year. The Collegiate Playwright Festival, on the other hand, is something that we do charge a submission fee for. Now, in my mind, there's a fair amount of compensation, and I think that sometimes a lot of playwrights think that compensation only comes in the form of money,
right?
The monetary rewards, if you will. So, what's your take on compensation?
Well, this is the thing is. It's hard because, honestly, I know some playwrights. I have some playwright friends that sell their scripts and it's like nothing. You might be able to go out to lunch for a week and that's about it. It's not going to change your life. The fact that you've been produced, somebody picked your play is going to last a lot longer. It's like getting an award. You can put it on a resume forever and all of a sudden you're, top dog. You're awesome for a long time. That money is going to come and go. Unless you're a full-on agent selling Broadway stuff, or in regular big theaters, you're not going to make a living off of your plays. At least I don't think you can. I don't make a living, but I make enough money to provide for my theater company and grow with it by producing my own stuff. So you have to kind of think forward thinking. And when it comes to submissions fees like that, where, like I said, for festivals and things like that, where you're getting feedback, that's what you're paying for. You get in and you get feedback, you're paying a lot less than you would for a class. I mean, I've taken classes at UCLA and different things like that for writing, and you're sharing the room with 20 other people. You might get a second or two, or you might get 1 week where they give you, and it's usually the students giving it. It's not a one-on-one with the teacher. That's hard. That's expensive. And so if you find something where your work is improving, pay the submission fee. It's worth it. But, you do your research then. And when it comes to that, as far as compensation for your plays, like I said, don't expect compensation until you're big. You should be able to have at least one show up a year. And to start growing and start getting notoriety, and so that people know that you're not just a one-hit wonder. For them to count on you. And then eventually maybe you might be able to be a working playwright. Those plays will go on tour, or they'll get in the bigger theaters, and maybe you can pay. But I wouldn't nickel and dime independent producers, because that's where you start. And a lot of people, who balk at not getting compensated for their work, they're like, this is my, my blood and everything. I should be paid for it. Well, it takes a while. It takes some people, playwrights have died before they've seen their, plays that ever hit. It's art, okay? And if you can be bought, you might as well write commercials or something. Nothing wrong with commercials. If somebody wants me to write a commercial, I'll write one just to pay the bills. But don't expect it. I've seen a lot of people who turn their nose up at really great opportunities because they're getting paid a small sum, and it makes them feel good. People even will look down on self-producing. They're like, well, you're not being chosen. Your work isn't being chosen. I'm like, oh, yes, it is. If mine's not good, people are not going to buy tickets, and I'm going to lose my initial investment. I have to grow as a company. I cannot just even break even at this point. It's because all of my investments before the pandemic in these theaters, I have to grow. I have to please an audience. And so I would rather please an audience that is coming directly into my pocket, into the company's fund, than somebody who's just reading some of my work on paper. So you kind of look at those options. Find satisfaction in your work growing and getting better. And don't worry about that compensation. Figure out a way to make money so that you can write, you can get your stuff out there, and eventually the dream will happen where that's all you have to do is write plays and keep coming up with ideas.
Welcome to our Clips channel, and thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, be sure to smash that like button and leave a comment down below while you're at it. If you'd like to be notified about future episodes featuring playwriting tips, be sure to click this channel button right here and subscribe there. If you want to see the full conversation of this episode, be sure to click the link right here. And if you'd like to see other playwriting tips from past episodes, be sure to click this link right here. And until we see each other again, and in the meantime, keep writing.